We will solve this today's LeetCode problem. This is first missing positive numbers. This is LeetCode hard problem, but believe me, this is something like a medium problem. We have already solved this problem from last. This problem can be solved with the approach which we are doing from the last two previous LeetCode problems. So let's see how can we do that with some little modification, of course. So let's see how we can do it there. So this is given an unsorted integer array nums, and which returns the smallest. We need to return the smallest positive integer that is not present in this nums, and we need to implement this in O of n, time of complexity of n, and space complexity O of 1, right? So we need to return the smallest positive integer. So the smallest positive integer means what? The number which is greater than 0, not excluding 0, right? So number which is positive, excluding 0, right? So if there is given non-negative integer, then the number 0 will also be included, but it is given only positive, so number 0 is not included, right? So if we see the constants, this numSci can be from minus int min to this int max value, right? And nums length is 1e5. So and we need to do it O of n. So the first approach which came to your also mind that it is unsorted array, then we can simply sort it and start counting from the positive integer like 1, and see which number is not there in an array, and we will return it, right? But its time complexity will be O of n log n, right? Because the sorting algorithm takes O of n log n in best case or in average case, right? So we can't do that also, because we need to do it O of n, right? So if you think of any other approach, so you can think of also that we will take an unordered map or something and store it and see whether that exists or not, but that will take an extra space also. So we can't do that. So if we can't take an extra space, we can't do sorting, then what can we do? We think, so we can think that we can use this nums array which is already given. Let's think that we can whether we can do this, whether we can use this nums array which is already given, and find this smallest possible integer anyhow, right? So uh, the if you remember the previous problem, that was the index sorting, right? Does that mean? That we will move to every values index, like this is 1, then we will move to this 1th index and mark that negative. The previous value, which is find repeated elements in an array, or more than two repeated elements in an array, the problem which we have solved previously, and we can apply that approach to this problem also, but with the slightest modification, right? Because here it is given negative elements also. So if we if there is are also a negative sorry guys, if there is given negative elements also, then we can't simply go to simply go to that index and mark that negative, otherwise so that will create some problems, because when we move to any elements and that element is negative, so we will not able to figure out that whether that element is already visited or it is a new element, right? So that's the problem. So what I can think is, uh, the first I think will come in my approach, that we will whenever we mark whenever we come to that index, we will mark that index value as int min or int max, but it will again create problem, because the value can be int min or int max, right? So what we can do? So I see this here, the nums length is only 1e5. Now here is the catch, that 1e nums length is only 1e5. So can we simply mark the visited index value as 1e greater than 1e5 to the any number like 1e6, 1e7, something? which is less than, which can be contained in int value, right? So that when we visit that 1 is 6 or 1 is 7, we are confirmed that this index is marked as visited, right? So what we can do is we will simply mark this as the value is which is greater than 1e5, right? So what I can do is I will simply mark all the negative elements which is present over here. So let's take this negative elements, right? Example as negative. So what I will do, I will mark all the negative elements as 1e6, right? Suppose this is third, then I will go to its second index, right? Because this 0, if I see from the 0th index, the 0, 1 and 2, I will mark this as, so first I will mark all the negative elements as 1e6, right? Because that will be greater than the O of that will be greater than this nums length, which is 1e5. And after that I will simply go to every every value index that is third, like 0, 1, 2. I will mark this as minus negative value, right? 1 is 6. Again when we move to 4, I will mark this as minus 1 again. Now when I comes to this negative, I will got value this minus 1 is 6. So when I take this absolute value, this will be greater than nums length, right? So that will be I will I will neglect this value. I will not do anything this, because this will not affect my answer, right? And whenever I go to this one, this is minus 1, that I will go to this 0th index and mark this as minus 3. After that, what I will check, that I will iterate in the whole array and I will check that at which index the value is positive. Like suppose I will move to this 0th index, this is negative, it means this one value is one number is present in my array. I will move to the second is positive, it means this second number is not in my array. Then the second can be the answer, which is 2 is missing here, right? So this will be the approach that I will first, what I will do first, that I will change all the negative values to 1e6, which you can take any number which is greater than 1e5, right? Which is greater than nums length, possible nums length, right? Possible length of array, right? Then what I will do, I will mark all the values of that, of all the index of that value, move to I will mark I will move all I move to the index of that value and mark that current that index, that value which is on that index negative, right? And at last I will check that at which index the number is positive. That means that that index number is not present in my array, so that will be my answer, my missing number, right? So this will be the approach, right? So this is some it is the same as the previous two problems approach, right, which we have done. You can see that video also. So that, so let's mark all the negative elements as 1e6. So if num size is less than 0, I will simply write this as 1e6, right? And now I will again iterate in this array, and I will simply move to that index value. I will move to the value that index and mark it as negative, right? But if the value is suppose I go to an index and just the value is already negative, so this will create problem because that value is already negative, and we are trying to get access to that negative value, which will give us the auto bond error. Then we need to check this absolute value, right. And one case is also here, that if what if the num size is 186, right. So in that case, if num size is greater than n, I will continue it. I will negate it because I don't need to do it in any operation, right. But what if this absolute num size I have marked already minus, then this will give an error, so I also need to mark this as absolute, right. Okay. uh, and what if this num psi, absolute value of num psi, is already negative? It means we have already marked it before, right. If this is already negative, I will discontinue it, because if we again do that -1, this that become positive, right. So I can do this here also, right. This can be also here, so there is no need of to write this here. And now I will simply iterate again, and I will check at which index is greater than equals to 0, and I will simply return that value. And not equals to 0, yeah, equals to 0 is also fine, but it should be greater than 0, and there is no problem in that. I will simply n plus 1. So if there is no any value which is greater than positive, it means all the numbers are in the array, and so I need to just return this n plus 1, right. Let's see. hmm. Runtime error yard. What happened? Okay, if there is 0 also, I just need to mark this 1 is 6, because this 0th value will be, we don't need 0th value also. Let's see. Yeah, view all the past test cases. Let's submit it. Yeah, bingo. We passed all the cases. This is something like the previous approach, but just here we need to check that whether the nums and what should be, we change the value, because we need only the positive, we only matters positive numbers, we don't matter 0th and negative numbers. Then this, and also the catch is that we need to see this 1 is 6 or greater than length, right. So I have marked all the 1 is 6, and less than 0 value is 1 is 6, and I am just checking that all the value, if the value is greater than n, we continue it, or whether the elements is less than already 0, marked 0, right. Then I will continue it, and otherwise I will mark as negative. At last I will check that whether the number is already positive or negative. If it is negative, it means it is already visited, otherwise number is not there, I will return that answer. I hope you will understand, you have understand better. Thank you so much. Bye bye.